Today we're going to be talking about the Infernal Walker, the new Void Abyss boss that they gave us for Season 2. So I'm going to be giving you a few tips, a quick rundown on what you need to know about this boss, and consequentially, this will also be an updated Viessa build. Let's do this.
Wait, did we just become best friends? So nice to meet you. I think you're cool.
What makes this guy important are the rewards that he drops. For one, you get these special tickets that you can use at the ETA Zero vendor to buy some skins, and you're going to need a lot of them. But in addition to that, he's going to be dropping materials that you need to enhance your reactors. The fight is a little mundane, I gotta say, so the more efficient you can be in here, or the more gratifying the build can be while you're doing this mundane task, then the better. So that's the why. Now let's go into the what. From what the devs said in their last live stream is that although you can play these in group, they're really designed to be played solo so that they can be farmed and also put your builds to the test. And although that sounds maybe intimidating, it's sort of not as much as they make it out to be. All right, so here's the deal. As of right now, you're going to want to integrate this fight into your routine gameplay. Because these are sort of specialized Colossus, you're going to want to optimize one particular build to be able to fight this boss over and over as efficiently as possible. And they're going to be introducing new Void Abyss bosses on the regular, which I imagine will open up the additional roster to these fights over time. Because he's so tanky, you really want to lean into the resistance, and he's the weakest against chill. That puts Viessa and Haley at the forefront of this fight. But between Haley and Viessa, I end up preferring Viessa over Haley. Oh, and I should pause and say that if you didn't know, Viessa was buffed in the last update and has come a long ways and to the forefront of all the Descendants. We are going to be using an Absolute Zero build against this boss. Now, I'm a cold-blooded guy through and through from the very beginning of this game, but now I gotta say I'm sold as an Absolute Zero guy. Before I give you some of the tips on how to use the build, let's actually get into the build details. I'm gonna go quick because Viessa's been out for a while, so there's not much to discuss as far as her abilities here. We are actually gonna be leaning more on her number 1 than you think, but we're using her full kit. And then Frost Roads is basically her speed boost, but also that trail of, let's just call it freeze. So it creates ice sheets, and that allows you to clear the ads without even paying attention to them. The number 4, we're going to be using a lot also. It's going to be coming at us every 11 seconds, which is obviously her strongest skill, but landing it is what could be more difficult. And so we're going to give you some tips on how to use this appropriately. So this is all about the Absolute Zero mod. You could also see that on Absolute Zero, which is her passive, she gets a skill critical hit rate increase at 20%, and that's to her base. So every crit multiplier takes that into consideration. The downside is because her skills are all singular, you can't use something like the Blue Beetle to peek out her crits. So we're gonna have to do it all through the build itself. Basically, what we're going for is a little bit of baseline power, but mostly crits here. From there, we want really fast cooldowns so that we can get in and get out as fast as possible. So I have the standard HP mod here. From there, let's look at our cooldowns. So I have Nimble Fingers, MP Conversion. So those are our 2 core cooldowns there. And then I'm also running Focus on Singular for strictly just the cooldown. Now I've tried a lot of other things here, even additional power, which she doesn't really need. You could go Spear and Shield there for an additional 8% plus some 89% defense, which is nice. But I personally found that skill cooldown just became more useful because she's already hitting hard. And so it's about frequency of hitting with the skills. So now let's look at all of our power mods. I went with Focus on Chill, of course, because cooldowns are important. And then we get a 77% chill skill power. Then skill concentration for crit damage, front lines for crit damage, and crit hit rate. And then finally, for more crits, we got emergency measures, which is giving us crit hit rate and critical hit damage. Now notice I'm not running skill insight. It's kind of tricky. Right now, if you look, my skill critical hit rate shows at 28%, but that's because when we're in the base of operations, for some reason, it doesn't accurately display her crits, but she's actually a lot higher. If you run skill insight, you could push her to 100%. And that's one way to play. I did play that way for a while to test it out. And I just found that the frequency of throwing out the skills was more important than adding a little bit more crit hit rate. And then for more damage, we go with Dangerous Ambush. It's not really for the not targeting you part because you're always being targeted except for right when he spawns. And then of course when he goes down. So when he's immobilized, we're looking for that pickup there in skill damage. and we're gonna lay it on thick when he goes down. And this is a flexible slot, and I tried everything here, and I stand by this decision. Maximize conservation. So skill cost is going to be decreased by 35% at the cost of skill power modifier at 20%. But look, that skill power modifier at 20% is a drop in the bucket because she has massive modifiers here. And the one we're going to be relying on the most, believe it or not, is the frost shards. We're going to be hitting him most frequently with that. As you can see, it dropped from 997 to 977. So you don't have to worry about that decrease in damage, but the skill cost is really helpful because you are killing ads a lot, but you're not always where the orbs landed because this guy moves around a lot. So if you end up running out of mana, then you have to buy time to regenerate without getting hit or go kill some ads. And since you're trying to farm this guy really quickly, that's not something you really want to be doing too often. This is a quality of life and definitely a flexible slot. Again, if you feel like you need more defense there, Spirit and Shield is a good option. I also felt Heat Release was really helpful. So burn immunity with fire resistance. So he's got a damage over time when you get hit by the fire. And if you get hit by that a lot, it can be frustrating because it'll burn you out pretty easily. So with this, you're going to be immune to that part of its damage. For the reactor, of course, we're going chill and singular, and then I have additional damage to Colossus. I think that's quite important. I've tried everything down there for that second flexible slot, but I decided skill cooldown, again, is really important. I'm running 4 pieces of Slayer because of its base skill power. You can not run this for more HP, and as you can see, she is sort of a glass cannon, but her speed supplements what she doesn't have in HP, and you don't just want to stand there and take the barrage anyways. So I was fine with this, but it is up to you. I felt like she performed better with lower HP and higher damage. But if you want to take off some of your damage, strip it down for more survivability, do that. But I think that relying on your movements is key for this fight and a huge part of what will make you consistent with clearing this boss. Just make sure you have all of your MP modifiers. Those are important. And here's a big piece of the puzzle, the Clairvoyance. I am actually using this weapon throughout the whole fight. So you want to punch him in the nose with the Clairvoyance all the time and then spam your skills at the same time. And Clairvoyance puts a debuff out and there's a timer on it, which is really short. And so we want to take advantage of every split second that debuff is in effect. We'll go into the debuffs here in a second, but notice on the weapon I have bonus firearm attack to Colossus, firearm attack, I picked up rounds per magazine, and chill attack. For me, this weapon isn't about putting out a bunch of weapon damage. It does put out weapon damage enough to contribute, but it isn't the star of the show because her skills are what's doing the real work. So let's look at the details. So hitting an enemy with a stage 2 beam is going to give us Void Daze, and Void Daze is going to give us 40% reduction of chill resistance. And then if we get to stage 3, then it's also going to give them a decrease in speed. And because I'm always holding down the trigger, this is actually pretty easy to get to. So here is my build for the Clairvoyance. So it might be a little bit different than what you're accustomed to, but again, I'm not looking for maximum damage out of this. I'm looking for sustaining damage. So I want to be shooting for a long time and I want my reloads to be short. So we got rifling reinforcement, basic damage mod, action and reaction, but we're not going for RPMs. That's been tested and it doesn't contribute to your charge up speed, which is what's important here. You want to get to stage 2 and stage 3. So you do want to run your superconductivity charge. So that'll increase your charging speed. And then I have charge amplification for a little bit of firearm attack at a cost of crit damage, and then chill enhancement for a little bit baseline damage through element. And then I'm running super cooled plasma, which is a flexible slot here. So when hitting the same target consecutively, increase your chill attack by 1.3% and reduces the target's defense by a slight bit, stacking up to 20. But defense is mostly applicable to the weapon damage. That's not really going to be decreasing the defense for your skill attacks. Everything else that I have is going to go into fast reloads and big mag. So expand rounds per magazine, and then weapon tuning, more rounds per magazine, reload expert, faster reload, recycling genius, faster reload. So I want this beam to always be hitting that target, and that's how this is configured, because that 40% reduction combined with her hard hitting skills is where you want to be. Okay, now what I want to do is share some quick tips and how I use this build. Now, first, what you want to do is activate your frost roads just before he spawns, and then stand behind him and prepare to launch your blizzard, which is your 4th skill. So you don't want to launch this too early because there's a very strong double hit that happens on its first interval, basically your activation. So if you launch this too early, then that won't apply. And then he's going to start moving probably backward. So I try to put this basically more towards his front feet because he's going to rotate around and those will eventually be his back feet, and then he's going to back up from you. Otherwise, what I do is I send my number 1, which is your frost shards or your ice rocket, right at his nose constantly. And as far as the clairvoyance, I just hold down the trigger the entire time, wailing on his nose. Basically, look at your number 1 frost shards and the clairvoyance as your jabs. And then when you stun him, you're going to hit him with your left cross, which is your cold snap, and then your Hellmaker, which is your blizzard. Now, the reason why I do this is because the hardest part about hitting him with your strongest skills, like the cold snap and the blizzard, are that he moves a lot. So you can put down your blizzard, which is very expensive in mana, and end up missing the entire thing. And you can't put range on this build, but I did try range, and it is a way to go, but maximize conservation and skill cooldowns ended up being really important for the barrage during his down state. It's really important. And this was almost a perfect run. I probably could have shaved 10 or 15 seconds off of this particular run if I did a better job at managing my mana. But I ran out of mana, so I had to do a quick little pause for it to regenerate, and that lost me a couple of seconds, but who cares, right? You probably know by now some of his biggest threats are his fire fart. Definitely want to stay away from that thing. The other thing is his charge up cannon. So when he charges those things up, don't get hit by him. Everything else, I don't really care. I rarely get hit by his barrage. It's because I stay in the close medium range the entire time. Because when he gets stunned, you want to be able to quick strike in close range. So you don't want to be way out there playing deep. Don't want to do that. You want to play in the mid close range. It's basically the same range as your beam rifle has. So just be at optimal range for your beam rifle, which is too far to get farted on, but close enough where you're actually applying damage with your beam rifle. And then when you get stunned, you quick strike with your cold snap, which is your number 3, and your blizzard. Also, look out for his big attacks. So when he's charging his cannons or when he's about to send out his minions, he's going to aim for the sky. And when he goes into his frenzy state, he has a little bit of a temper tantrum. These are all awesome opportunities for you to stun him and then barrage him during his down state or stunned state. So look at those as not, oh my god, it's time to run, but oh my god, it's time to strike. You still don't want to get hit in the face with one of his barrages, but it's a high risk, high reward opportunity right there. And that's why the maximized conservation and all the extra cooldown ends up being really important. What I found to be really important, because when he goes down or when he is stunned, you want to give him all you got. Always make sure you have your frost roads activated. Look at frost roads as your heals because it's what's killing their ads and giving you all your resources, including health orbs. So I'm not even paying attention to the ads because I know my frost roads is sort of acting like a shield, protecting me from those minions while killing them. And then I'm accidentally running on those health orbs to give myself some heals. And when you down the enemy, definitely make sure you go underneath him, hit him with the frost roads, hit him with the frost shards, give him everything you got. So this doesn't always go perfectly. I die plenty of times. Sure, I like perfect runs because I'm weird like that. But the reality is sometimes when you die, you can go even faster because all your skills reset. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit the like, hit all the buttons, you know the deal. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm Tuxedo Bandido, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on the good stuff I have coming for you. And if you like content like this, be sure to check out the video I have recommended for you right here. If you have anything you would like me to cover, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make things possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be the same without you.
When you buy or download anything for the First Descendant, be sure to use Tux's creator code to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Wait, did we just become best friends?